Hello, good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise. It is this morning. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Well, the skies, the pregnant skies, eventually let out their promise of rain and produced a very cool morning here in Abuja. Good morning, I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
Okay, pregnant skies. Okay. Okay. Well, this one does look pregnant anyway. So, lovely skyline as well. The National Stadium. Well, yes, indeed. Well, you know, they talk about the National Stadium in Abuja and the National Stadium.
That's the velodrome there.
Did I say call the National Stadium in Lagos? I think so. Well, National Stadium, Surulere.
Yeah.
You know, that one is in the heart of town. It's just within, boys can run in and out just like that. You could, but here you can't dash in and out here.
Yeah, the National Stadium here is a full complex, the MKO Abiola Stadium.
You have to be going there deliberately.
Yeah.
You have to say, I am going to the National Stadium in Abuja. And you do whatever to get down there. But yeah, all the same, lovely scenery. And you know, the stadium matters are in the headlines this day, yesterday, for a while it will be, because it's supposed to be the AFCON qualifiers, as a matter of fact. So, which is what we're all talking about. But I'm just wondering that at the end of the day, functionality of this stadium, I don't think we should take it for granted. I'm going to go there much later this week, and then see things for myself yet again.
Well, I know that some people love to hang out at the stadium. I mean, I'd love to hang. What's not to love about this stadium?
That's what we're supposed to do, our protest.
Well, it's already been designated protest spots.
It's a kind of hangout too.
Been designated protest spots already by the authorities. But I mean, when you look at the Abuja Stadium, the MKO Abiola Stadium, as it's been renamed, which you see right up to the city gate, you can't miss it. On your way into the Federal Capital Territory, you know, when you're coming into the city, it's just right after the city gate. It's an entire complex. You see it right there. The velodrome is what you're seeing first, and then the main bowl of the National Stadium. It's amazing. It's really beautiful. It was deliberately built for this city as a monument to show what we're capable of and maybe our aspirations in sports. But Chamberlain, as you said yesterday, Libya decided to be at the receiving end of our anger, because what they did to our team was totally unacceptable. And I'm glad that we have told them in no uncertain terms that we're not going to sit and take that. And I'm glad that our boys are back home safe and sound. I mean, I heard them singing earlier, "Oh, my home, oh, my home." We're so happy to see you. Welcome back. And we hope you get some well-deserved rest after that, you know, very harrowing experience they went through in the hand of Libyan authorities. Totally unacceptable, Chamberlain.
And thankfully, CAF has responded. The proper release saying that they view the disturbing and unacceptable experiences of the Nigerian national football team, the Super Eagles, at an airport in Libya in a very serious light. So CAF say they've been in contact with the Libyan and the Nigerian authorities after it had been informed that the Nigerian national football team, that's the Super Eagles, and their technical team were stranded in disturbing conditions for several hours at an airport that they were allegedly instructed to land by the Libyan authorities. So it goes on to say the matter has been referred to the CAF disciplinary board for investigation, and appropriate action will be taken against those who violated the CAF statutes and regulations. So this is a statement that CAF themselves put up. Yes, after the furore, which hogged international headlines as well.
Yes, it did.
It did put African football in a very bad light.
Not just African football, they actually put the entire spirit of sportsmanship. Chamberlain, I mean, yesterday I read the statement of the Libyan authorities. You can't do such an action and, you know, laugh out loud in your statement. It seemed that, you know, they were making a mockery of the entire situation. I dare say, yes, our own tardiness might have, caused some anger, but come on, there is also what they call good faith. if the mistakes were made and we explained and apologized over and over again, and that what you experienced in Nigeria was not intentional, it meant that, there was no good faith, when our own team was going to Libya. Don't forget that this is a country that is currently in the middle of a crisis, with factional governments here and there. Yeah. And our team, our national football team, risk their lives. They take a risk. They go to that country. We don't raise any issue about security. We're saying, look, this is the spirit of African brotherhood. We believe that the game of football should foster understanding, should foster friendliness, should foster friendships. And then we get there, and you're recalling in your own statement that, after all, when we came here, our own team also went through the same thing. Come on. I mean, that totally defeats the purpose. And I think that, that message should be sent to them in no unclear terms. This is very childish, unacceptable behavior on the part of the Libyan authorities and also their football federation. We understand the FA chairman of the Libyan football team or association resigned yesterday. But even that, while they're dealing with their own internal politics, whose ever idea it was, that person did not do well at all. The person did not think it through. And I think that I'm glad that this has been sent to the disciplinary board. It should be held up as an example of what we're not to see in football at any level, whether in African football, in international football, in Brazil, any type of football. That sort of attitude should not be acceptable under any circumstances.
And there's been a history to this, as a matter of fact, right from the days of Issa Hayatu versus so. The Nigeria, African football, really, we've gone through thick and thin. We've gotten the short end of the stick for the most part. Because for club football, for instance, so many who may have been following, in case you might have missed it, if you actually look at the way African teams are, not even African teams, other maybe West Africa, Southern Africa, teams that go to North Africa to play, if it is CAF Champions League, just look at the hostility and the way they are. So it's been a thing coming through. I mean, recently, even the Zimbabwe went through the same scenario. So, and probably because maybe CAF had not been putting their foot down for a while. And so they thought this behavior is acceptable.
It's normal.
So they dug their heels in. They continued doing it. It spread from one North African country to then you see this one. And so they thought, well, we've done it before recently. Nobody raised an eyebrow. So we might as well just go ahead with this one. And so that's why you see these kind of things. But well done to all of the Nigerian officials who at least got their voices heard, did what they could to make sure the Nigerian Super Eagles are back. Because no matter what happens, win or lose, yes, they are the Super Eagles of Nigeria. We support them through thick and thin. Whatever happens, they fly the flag of this country and should not ever be taken for granted by any country whatsoever. So international football, African football, let's see, hopefully that CAF, hopefully this will stamp out this kind of behavior that is alien and has no place whatsoever in international football. So moving forward, we're hoping that all of those, look, if they don't want to play ball, we know if it's a crisis there, of course, another country can always host. And in fact, that 3 points, we're not going to lose those 3 points just like that. It has to be decided on the pitch.
Yeah.
Depending on what CAF decides anyway. So CAF is looking into it, and we're hoping they come up with the best of decisions.
Yeah. We should make a case for it, certainly.
I could almost tell that the dailies might have a thing or two to do with this.
Oh, they have more than a thing or two, Chamberlain, you bet. Yesterday I was at an event and somebody was saying one of the things that she loves about Nigeria is how when we have a common enemy, when somebody offends us and you are not a Nigerian, she loves just how we attack that person on our social media, Everyone says, look, we might have internal problems, but you are an outsider. We'll deal with you squarely before we come back home. And that's something that we really should commend and not lose that sort of spirit, amongst ourselves. That
very good.
Spirit of Nigeria.
Lovely spirit, I tell you. So let's have a look at some of the dailies, Makwe.
The experience of the Nigerian Super Eagles is still very much in the news this morning. Virtually every newspaper has a story or two. Look at the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Football foul play. Nigeria, CAF go head-to-head over Super Eagles ordeal in Libya. The details of that story you find on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. The same story is on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper. 2025 AFCON qualifiers. Nigeria demands justice over Super Eagles' harrowing experience in Libya. Ekong Boniface Osimhen lament ordeal. Treatment sad, despicable, say NITCOM, Sheikh Husani. CAF refers case to disciplinary board. Libya FA denies sabotage. The details of that story on the inside pages. This Nigeria has the same story. Nigeria fumes over inhuman treatment of Super Eagles in Libya. Demands swift justice from Libyan authorities. Tinubu excited over safe return. Details on page 63. The Vanguard newspaper has the same story. Cup of Nations qualifier, how Libya held Eagles hostage in disused airport for 15 hours. And look at the riders. Diplomatic row erupts over a deal of the players. Players recount ordeal, lament no food, water, Wi-Fi for over 16 hours. Team touched down at Malam Aminu Kano International Airport at 6 p.m. yesterday. FG summons Libya charged affairs in Abuja. Tinubu demands swift justice, welcomes safe return of Super Eagles. The details of that story continue on the inside pages of the paper this morning. The Daily Times has a different story. At NESD 30th Summit, Tinubu demands collaborative action to drive economic growth. The details on the inside pages. Nigerian News Direct has that same story from this angle. Nigeria's economic challenges are surmountable with right policies, according to Tinubu. Advocates diversification, says removing fuel subsidies key to economic recovery. The details on the inside pages of the paper this morning. Look at the front page of the Daily Independent. World Bank accuses FG of using oil wealth to service the elite. NESG asks FG to cut governance cost, says poor getting poorer. The details of that story you find on the inside pages of the paper this morning. The front page of the New Telegraph has Nigeria's high earners to pay 25% personal income tax from January 2025, says Oyedele. FG to exclude the poor from PIT. Man bemoans multiple taxation. Stories on the inside pages of the paper this morning. The Nigerian Tribune has flood sacks 200 communities in Kogi. Government calls for help. Houses submerged in Benue after 9-hour downpour. The details of that story on page 19 of the paper. Business Day has World Bank ties Nigeria's recovery to reforms. Tinubu determined to pursue reforms to stabilize economy. As from Shetima, the Vice President, find the details of that story on the inside pages of the paper this morning. Look at the front page of Daily Trust. 15-year-old student sues Education Ministry, JAM, NUC over admission policy. Says 18-year admission threshold discriminatory. We're not aware of case yet. That's according to the ministry. The details of that story you find on the inside pages of the paper. These are some of the papers we have for you today.
Well, you heard, that's Ayo with us in spirit. At least you heard him in the papers there. And of course, you can see the outrage all over the front pages over what's transpired in Libya. It's still very much there. I was just reading to Chamberlain the statement of the Libyan authorities. Really, really disrespectful, if you ask me. I mean, when you look at this, it says, I'm trying looking for the particular part now. He says, we firmly reject any claims that suggest foul play or sabotage in this situation. They say it is important to highlight that just last week, our own national team faced significant challenges upon our arrival in Nigeria for the third match of the Africa Cup of Nations. Despite the difficulties we encountered, we did not make public accusations nor question the integrity of the Nigerian authorities. Football in its essence unites nations, and we're committed to upholding the spirit of fairness and mutual respect both on and off the field. And it went on and on to talk about how, they're very warm. Hosting this event is a great honor for us. And they want all teams to feel safe and respected as their guests. Then you have to ask, if this is how you treat your guests, then how do you treat your enemies? Because certainly yesterday, our Nigerian Super Eagles team did not feel like guests on Libyan soil. But I think we can always talk about that issue. There are other stories on the front pages this morning. NESG clocked 30. Celebrated 30 years of their own existence yesterday, contributing to policies. Talking about Nigeria's economic reforms, quite an event they had yesterday. And you see there, Nigeria witnessed best economic reforms from 2003 to 2007. And they also had some words. So you might want to look at the front page of New Telegraph, which had that. And what else again will I highlight for you? One more story, which I'd like to highlight. Chamberlain, I don't know, I think you'll fall under this bracket. Also on the front page of New Telegraph.
What does it say?
Nigeria's high earners to pay 25% personal income tax from January 2025, says Oyedele.
Says if you earn 100 million naira a month. So yes, I will fall under it. Of course, I will. Because when there's life, there's hope. Even though hope deferred makes the heart sick.
You've read the story already?
That's what he said.
It's 100 million naira.
That's what he said. If you earn 100 million, then of course.
Don't run away with the headlines and don't take Chamberlain at his word. Read the story and know whether you fall under that category of those to pay 25% personal income tax from January 2025. But yes, this is Mr. Oyedele's committee. Don't forget, the federal government has been working to streamline taxes and make sure we are paying in one stream. Well, who knows? You might be paying more or less depending on where it is you fall in the category of income. So let's leave it there for New Telegraph. Anything else stick out for you?
Yeah, I tell you, it's not easy to have hope in this economy, actually, but you have to do what you have to do, because without hope, what else is there? So the tax team looked as if they stop it on one hand and take it back on this other side. With these policies, seemingly confusing tax policies. But whichever way, much as this Nigeria highlights how Nigerians felt about the Super Eagles, but what we know from Libya's experience in that previous fixture was that they were supposed to land in Uyo, but somehow they went to Port Harcourt.
Yeah, there still needs to be explanation for that. As I said, Chimling, our tardiness cost our team this.
I'm trying to see if it's tardy, because what we know is that the NFF said, from what I also have read, that they only knew, I think, 2 hours before they arrived, they went to Port Harcourt. And even at that, they rallied, got buses for them to go from there to Uyo. They refused our buses because they refused to pay extra. Because if you're making additional measures other than the one that's been provided, they said there's extra cost. So if you haven't budgeted for that one, you have to pay a little extra cost. They refused that. So they had to go for another bus. And then they told them, don't travel at night. They disregarded all of those things. And then they gave them security. They said they had issues. And then they sat down in the airport area, and then they took pictures. And they said this was under an hour thereabouts. So that's the account, unless the NFF will come forward and then speak a little more publicly about what transpired. So, and then they took it as though it was deliberate. So, but this case is different. Our case is different. You deliberately diverted
the plane.
You deliberately took away their food. You denied them internet services. There was instruction for them to be delayed for hours. And so, of course, that is not right. So anyway, CAF is looking into that matter. But interestingly as well, several papers also highlight a student. Daily Trust highlights, I think the student is suing the Ministry of Education, saying, look, you can't discriminate against us. 15-year-old saying, look, we need to be able to go to school at a certain age. So they're going to court to decide that. Let's see what happens, how the court rules on that one. It's 21st century, so they feel we should be thinking a lot differently. So the law is made for man, not man for the law. Whatever law cannot bend will break, as they say. So we'll see what becomes of that.
But you know what? I mean, while this is commendable, I'd like to see what the laws have to say. You have to ask, though, can this 15-year-old student sue? There'll be questions as to whether you're of a legal age to be, because don't forget that if it was the other way around, if the state were to sue a 15-year-old, wouldn't that person be categorized a minor?
So question of locus, and then the parents also having, so that's why I should read that story and find it, because the parent is involved. So the parent, we understand, is also a lawyer, and so they're looking at all those dynamics. So locus,
but it'll be interesting to see how the courts decide. However, I must tell 15-year-olds, if you also fall into, don't be in a hurry. Trust me, there'll be, by God's grace, there'll be plenty of you. Will have a long, full life. There is nowhere to. Enjoy being a child. Take it from an adult. Enjoy being a child. There's no need to hurry to be an adult. You know, discover life on somebody else's bill. Your parents are willing to pay. Where are you hurrying to? I don't know, but
different strokes.
Different strokes, I guess.
Different times have changed. Some 12-year-olds are millionaires these days.
No, Chamberlain. Times have not changed. Times have always been like this. We have always seen parents who always want their children to move fast. Oh, my child got double promotion. Oh, my child didn't do KG3. Oh, no, they didn't do primary 6. You know, we've seen that since I was in primary school. We've been seeing that. But with benefit of hindsight, we realized that we're not exactly doing our children justice with benefit of hindsight. And I think that even in places where the education policies are said to be superior, for instance, in Finland, in Denmark, in the Scandinavian countries, where children are not allowed to start school until they're about 7 years old. A lot of people now, I mean, we were talking about Jackpot syndrome, and a lot of our young people, middle-aged people middle-aged will be my age now, you know, Jackpot that left the country, who have young children. You find that a lot of them have been taken back a few classes, their children have been taking a few classes back, because they find your child has been too forward. Your child should take time to learn certain things. Enjoy playing. Enjoy being a child. You know, you learn from play. And that actually has an effect on the cognitive skills of that particular child. What do our children do? We're in a hurry to teach them how to write. How has it affected our development?
Well, the percentage of those kind of people now is the issue. So it will be tantamount to what they call argumentum ad baculum. If you have to paint everybody, put everybody in that light. But don't, but you know.
What did you call it again?
Argumentum ad baculum. But you know.
Lions, help me.
But the context of what I mean by times have changed is in the context of the resources that were available to 12 and 15-year-olds 10, 15, 20 years ago is available today. So in that light, there's a lot that they can do. You could stay in your home and earn.
Yeah, but even in the Western countries, I mean, what facilities are we talking about, or what resources are we talking about that these countries currently have? I mean, that we are claiming to have, and those countries perhaps have 10 times what we have, and are saying, no, these children should go back
to those classes. They are outliers, and so we cannot afford to block those kind of people. Of course, there will be outliers, and of course, we will make room for, even abroad, they do have. We shouldn't put a glass ceiling. If they put a glass ceiling, the court will decide all of that. Exactly. But we don't believe in putting glass ceilings to certain people. So we believe that there are people who that's what they're called geniuses.
Yes, so I'm sure that people like that. There must be threshold. Every child in Nigeria is now a genius. From what we're seeing.
Every child.
Oh yes, at this rate.
I give up.
Every child.
Okay, I don't know. Well, if it's that case, well, I give up on that one. If every child is what.
At this rate.
So there you go. Hey, by the way, tell us what you think of all of this anyway. Hey, whether it's Super Eagles or what you just heard. We'd love to hear from you. Look at those emails there at the ticker. Send us a comment or two. We'd love to hear from you. We're back in just a moment, everyone. Stay on with us.
my first time.
The 30th Nigerian Economic Summit is themed Collaborative Action for Growth, Competitiveness and Stability. The summit brings together key stakeholders to discuss and propose solutions to Nigeria's economic challenges. Among those in attendance is Vice President Kashim Shettima, members of the Federal Executive Council, captains of industry, as well as development partners. The summit, which is jointly organized by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, and the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, is considered a reflection of the need for partnership to address the nation's economic challenges.
Today's challenges demand a new approach centered on collaboration to promote growth, competitiveness, and stability.
We seek cooperation and understanding of the broad spectrum of the citizenry, as there is indeed light at the end of the tunnel. The economy is facing the right direction and the decline has been arrested. What has been achieved is a result of boldness, resilience, and collaboration, and thus we need more to compensate for the decades of underinvestment and to ensure that we deliver a collaborative, competitive, and stable environment.
The Vice President of the World Bank, Mr. Ndemit Gill, who is also the Chief Economist of the International Financial Institution, has some concerns about Nigeria's economy.
Without solid progress in Nigeria, the Sustainable Development Goals that we all talk about will remain out of reach. Nigeria, after all, is now the country with the largest number of people living in extreme poverty, not just in Africa, but across the world. But Nigeria's reforms from 2003 to 2007 were exactly what was needed, but they were not sustained. Today's fiscal, monetary, and exchange rate reforms are hurting everyone, especially ordinary Nigerians who are struggling with the high prices of food and transport. The government must do everything in its power to protect the most vulnerable citizens against hardships, because their lives and the lives of Nigeria's 110 million children depend on it.
Vice President Kashim Shettima represented President Bola Tinubu at the summit, and he explains how the administration's reforms will ensure long-term stability.
The present administration, through the Renewed Hope agenda, has embarked on bold and courageous reforms designed to create an environment that fosters sustainable economic growth and shared prosperity. Our focus is on sectors that can offer inclusive and sustainable growth, such as agriculture, manufacturing, and the digital economy. We have initiated various programs, such as the MSME hubs and single-digit loans for manufacturers, designed to provide entrepreneurs with the support they need to succeed. We have also introduced the credit cooperation to offer our workers consumer loans with single-digit interest. These initiatives collectively will boost the economy and ensure it remains competitive in Africa and globally.
The Nigerian Economic Summit 30th anniversary provides a platform for policymakers, business leaders, and stakeholders to discuss and propose solutions to Nigeria's economic challenges.
So some of those issues are part of what we're going to be talking about this morning. We've got Mr. Ogenekaro Jockey here with us. He is the chairman, CEO of Okama Infinity Nigeria Limited. It's oil and gas policy professional. It's been there for about 22 years industry knowledge. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Morning.
So listening to all of those who spoke there, it hits different people differently. For instance, the World Bank stats there quite alarming, and it also indicates this orange indication here, so showing that yes, poverty rising on the world poverty clock, over 17 million, they say from here, with this figure. But the Minister of Budget and Planning saying they've arrested the decline. The Vice President saying, listen, some of those policies, how they intend to come up with single digits, and then all of those policies of theirs, they are confident that it's achieving the aim. So from your perspective, someone who's out there, some of the policies has also impacted your company, your industry, could you tell us, what is your impression of some of these policies so far?
I would say we are really in a trying time right now in Nigeria. And some of these policies, you might not really see the effect right away. It takes time. And these people, the government of today, just came in, they're barely going to 2 years now. And I think we are coming from a very long way where we to get to this point where we are now. So we need to still give them a little time and to see how some of all these things will play out. It will not work overnight. Yes, it's biting at this particular time. It's affecting me, it's affecting you. But I think we still should be a little bit patient to see how things will turn out to be.
All right, yeah, we hear you. But listening to what they've said, for instance, I mean, when the Minister for Budget and Planning says the decline has been arrested, I'm sure that will be lost on many people. They'd like to understand, what does that actually mean? Because if you look at the price of petrol, I don't think that's what they mean by that. If you look at the cost of gas, I don't think that they also mean that, because that's equally gone up. Yesterday, they spoke about cost of basic things, rice, foodstuff, availability, then the price. I'm not sure that's part of what they mean. So how isn't it understandable when they say, yes, he's been arrested, but people say, how? We can't see how. What do they mean?
Well, for me, we can look at it in a different scenario when it comes to how I'm seeing things right now. We are fine. Price of petrol must have gone up. Price of foodstuff must have gone up. But there are planting seasons in which the government is doing a lot in agriculture to see that, okay, they are giving the farmers feed so that they can plant. And two, they are still tackling the insecurity where the farmers can still go up. Those things will still bring us back to where we are going to find ourselves. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but we just need to be patient. If we say, okay, it's not going to happen overnight, really. There's no way, there's no magic that we say, okay, things will just go from just normal. We've been living like a pampered child, to say, okay, we have, everything is going on fine. But now we need to fix the reality. The subsidy is gone, and now we need to pay for the value, the actual value of the product, which we depend on. Really, the government cannot really do without not putting these policies in place for them to really get what they want, to put things in the right direction.
Much as people will say, yes, give them time, and people will always, expect that to happen. But realistically now, when you say paying the right value, if I could just cross over to your industry, there are many questions about all of that. Yeah. For instance, in terms of, first of all, they ask, what is the actual value? Because the president came in and said subsidy was gone. Only recently, we're now told subsidy is fully gone.
Yes.
And then it means there's a disconnect right there. Mm-hmm. And then the funds that were supposed to have saved from subsidy, big question mark on that one. So where has it gone? What has it impacted? What has it been done? What have they done with that kind of money? What is the actual price of petrol, for instance?
The subsidy is gone. The governors, the states, they are earning more money. We should not be asking only the president to say, okay, what is he doing with the money? Money is there. They're giving the state governors, the 3 local governments, and right now, even the local government, they're getting more revenue. We should be asking our local government, our governors, what they are doing with the money which the government is giving to them. For the petrol, the subsidies gone now, and we say we are paying the actual price of the petrol. Now, they say they will be consuming whatever they are claiming, NNPC claim that will be consuming. Now we have Dangote, which is on stream now, selling petrol directly to the marketers,
Any impact on the price?
They just started. I think that could have just started about 2 days ago. This week. Yeah, this week. So let's wait and see what actually we are going to consume from their datas.
I mean, in terms of the value, the price of the product.
Yes.
It's your industry, so you should have done your projections. What should we expect? Because people thought with all of that coming on stream, with us cutting cost of exporting crude, refining and bringing it back, with all the byproducts coming in here, with all the types of blends of petrol that we should have here, it should actually reduce in terms of the costing. But that's not what we're getting.
And that's why we're saying that we need to face the reality of the actual cost of petrol. Nobody will give you free petrol.
No, we're not asking for free petrol.
We're not asking for free petrol.
What is the actual cost?
The actual cost, that is where we're saying that with what they have done now, let's see what's the actual cost. Like for Dangote, for instance, now is buying the crude, is going to refine the crude in country. At that point in time, we know, even if the NNPC, they're not telling us the truth to say, okay, this is the actual cost. We can now get it from this. We are observing the situation. So let's see how it goes. I will know the actual cost at the end of the day. But we cannot say that this is the actual cost. There's so many things affecting our own production line.
Such as?
Insecurity, kidnapping,
the crude oil?
No. Yes, it affects it at the end of the day. When you talk about security, if you don't have security, how can you drill properly? If you are going to drill your crude oil, your production, and there's no peace in what you're going to do, can you work there?
No, but what about the ones that they do have? Because the question is this. Now, this is the mainstay of our economy.
Yes.
We've been at this for decades. And your industry, correct us if you're wrong, you always tell us about the vessels. The mother vessel, the daughter vessel. You always tell us that the mother vessel berths. Then you have to bring the daughter vessel to go in and then take the crude and come back in here. There's insurance for that cost.
Yes.
There's the lightering, cost of lightering. You factor it in at that point. And several other costs. If you take away, if we simply did one thing, dredge, so that you don't need the daughter vessel to go in there and do all of that, are we not going to save cost? If we do all of that?
Yes.
It's basic. Wouldn't we save cost?
Yeah,
why have we never ever done it? Isn't it because those costs, some people wanted to stay so that they can keep getting stuff from that?
No, even if you dredge, you know some of the waters are shallow waters and they are silty. And every time you continue dredging, you see that cost of dredging. Dredging is not a cheap, invention to go into say you just want to dredge. So sometimes it's even cheaper for you to take from the smaller vessel to the mother vessel. Let the mother vessel be out and the little vessel, the small vessel will come in and get it. But for you to say you want to be dredging, it might be cost. In the oil and gas industry, it's not that easy the way we think. To say, oh, everything is just going to go smoothly, like plug and play something you're doing. No, it's not that easy. That's why we say we really need to give the government time to really see how it's going to go. It's not going to be easy, but I think we'll get it right.
I'm a little curious. You have said that we should give government time. You've reiterated it over and over again, which is quite interesting coming from a business person.
Yeah.
Some people have said, look, if you talk to a business person, what they're asking for is for interest rates to come down because according to them, they can't get loans. It's impossible for them to pay back interest at the current rate which the CBN has set interest rates. I mean, without banks even adding their own. So which one of the policies of government are you really optimistic about as a business person, which you think if we give it time, we should be able to see some rewards from that?
Okay. Like let me say in the oil, like over in the banking industry, that we're saying that the interest rates are high, but when there's production in the oil, where if there's a lot of activities, and I think the production, that's what's giving our main revenue to our country, and there's production, we should boost up the production, and at the end of the day, you find out that there will be activities. For the past, for the past 4, 5, 7 years, there's no new project in the oil and gas industry that we can say, oh, this is a major project that people can go and get. So most of that, what they are doing is the existing projects which they have, they're trying to complete some and stuff. So, but at the end of the day, where the activities is much, a lot of players come in, but then even the banking sector will be willing to say, okay, let's give. Now they are giving, how do they for instance, the commercial banks will give you maybe 30% or 32%, which you go and borrow. You know, you look at it to say, okay, at this point in time is high. You know, we cannot say that is a good rate. Interest rate to give to any businessman to go and do business, when you can still help to give some single digits. But I can tell you the Exim Bank, the Afro Exim Bank, which we still link on to, with like the Bank of Industry, those ones, they still give single digits to see that they can cushion those industries.
No, so they give your industry to some loans, yeah, for Exim and BOI?
Yeah, they do. They do, single digits. If you, even with the Nigeria local content, you know, they have some money which they push into the BOI, and you can still access those funds. So a lot of people don't even have those awareness, you know, and you still run to the commercial bank. But if you still go through the right way, you can still get some funds.
It's interesting. So you are looking at it from the perspective of somebody in the oil and gas business, who knows that there's been no new investment, and you know that, okay, if we're able to keep this, perhaps new investments might be able to come into the sector. But oil and gas, much as yes, it's a major revenue earner for us, it's not a major GDP contributor. So you still have other major sectors such as agriculture, entertainment, where people are employed. People get their monies on the daily. Not a lot of people can be employed in the oil and gas sector, lucrative as it is, and I don't want to say oiliest, as it is, but lucrative as it is, it can only employ so many people.
Yeah.
Now, we're looking at a place where, because we also have a high unemployment rate, and a lot of people are looking for jobs. A lot of people are not earning, something that can actually take them home.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, looking at the greatest good for the greatest number, what will you be telling those people now who are already complaining, who can barely afford, but even the people who have jobs, who can barely afford transport fares, for whom the cost of food is too high? What should be happening to those people right now?
You see, government cannot really employ all of us, everybody. Some people should know how to go into industrialization, farming, agriculture, and learn skills which can create jobs for you, like for the entertainment industry. A lot is going on there. We are getting revenue from there. And you'll be shocked. I'm amazed to see how many people, indirect and direct jobs that you get in the entertainment industry. Then when it comes to other areas like farming, you can still do it. But nobody, if you see presently now, I think if you ask a young graduate today to go and get an agric loan and do farming and stuff, some of them will tell you no, they don't want to do. They are ashamed to say they are farmers, but those are the things that can really buffer the economy.
Yeah, but isn't that how we've also, put farming? These things don't happen overnight. Somebody was, making it, someone was saying the other day, I think it was a young person who was saying that we need to make farming attractive.
Yeah.
Usually when you see a farmer, they're usually people who are poor. And you cannot tell a young graduate to come out of school and then you show a poor farmer and say that's the model that the person should aspire to.
No. That is the mentality of our own Nigerian people. Say farmers are poor.
Whose fault is it?
No, no. That's why I'm saying that they've gone to school. They are out of school. They should be able to say, "Oh, let me approach the Bank of Industry or the Agric." I think we used to have the Agric Bank those days, and there are still some department in each bank, in this commercial bank, that still give agric loans. I can tell you today, if you go around, most of these farms you are seeing around are owned by foreigners that came. We are running away. They are coming in to do agric, to get farms and establish and do their stuff. But we don't want to do those kind of work.
Interesting as farming is looking, and you are in the oil and gas business.
Yeah, because let me tell you, I'm from the Niger Delta. We know for the oil and gas. I was brought up in that environment. So I assume that what was the primary reason that brought me into the oil and gas system, But those who in our area today, we have those who do fishing, and by now I expect our own people to even go into refishing, to know how to do industrialization of making their fish make it more better to the next level and take it. So that is why they went to school. So for me, I think the problem is not just the government. We keep saying, oh, the government is not doing anything. Or we say, oh, the state government. We should hold people accountable. Whatever we are doing, each and every one of us need to come out and do something to make an impact. I'll tell you, when I was in secondary school, we used to have a farm in our school, agric, and we'll go have club, and we harvest it, and they still sell them. But these days, you see, maybe, I don't think any of the kids these days, even the schools that they are even putting in place, there are no much agricultural activities happening in the school. So if you don't have those things, you didn't bring up that weight. I went to DSC Technical High School, and those days in DSC Technical High School is one of the best in Warri. And you can still learn. You learn carpentry. You learn so many things, vocational things that you can still learn. They have Saple Technical High School. You can still do some of all these things and make an impact. We import everything, without not trying to make anything out of what we have here. We have timbers here. We have so many things we can create. And we are saying, what we can tell, okay, yeah, government, things are tough. They are not doing it the way we are not seeing it. But we should still encourage ourselves. Let's try and see that we go into industrialization and see that not just waiting for the government alone to say, oh, they'll come and do everything for us. Yeah, they have the state governors are having a lot of money now. What are they doing with the money?
Well, the state governors will tell you that they have a lot of cash in terms of naira, but the value, if you were to look at the value of that money against the dollar, they have less. They will actually tell you that they have less.
Yeah, they can tell you they have less. But let me tell you, that same money, you can make your money to gain value, because if you go into industrialization, people will come and buy. They will start looking for the naira.
In the Niger Delta, where you come from,
yes.
What would you say has been the bane against industrialization? Do you think that is this focus on oil? Because you do remember there was a time that Delta State had a governor, Manuel Udoha, who was looking at Delta beyond oil. Do you think that has been sustained?
Yeah, I know. I think, yes, we have oil-rich region, but there's still agriculture is something that you can do very well in the Niger Delta area, because everywhere we have waters, we can still do fishing, and we still have some dry land over there. We can still do agriculture too for this. So I don't think we should just dwell on just the oil alone and say that is it. That is why I said the state and the local government, should do more with the money that they are giving to them. I don't think there's no during the 30 years of this last period, I don't think any state have gotten this liquidity than this present one they're doing. So I think a lot need to be done. We need to change our IQ, and to see how we can really make things work. We don't just keep blaming, oh, the government did not do this. We on our own, we need to change our own attitude.
Well, do you think that our leaders over the years have made any meaningful impact on the people whatsoever? I mean, I know that this period, General Gowon is commemorating his 90th, and there are several activities. I see people talking about his values, principles, his leadership traits. But looking back at all of those, would you say that our leaders in time past actually did us good? Or is it more harm than good? Or what?
I think our leaders in the past, like someone like General Yakubu Gowon, did well during his time. The little he can do, he have done his bit. He created a NYC, which today people still go, and they created that one for people to interact, whether from the north, from the south, from the east, we interact and know ourselves, bring that unity. I think anything we are doing, we should look at our diversity and how we can interact and see what we do. So for that, they've already taught us how to love. If you look at that program, the NYSC program, it's just unfortunate today that the banditry in Nigeria, I don't want to, it's making people scared to say, oh, I don't want to leave my case to go far away to maybe Borno or come down south, wherever, because you don't know what will happen. If not, I think our leaders, some of our leaders in the past have done us well. It's left for us to emulate them to see how we can improve on it.
You know, I met a gentleman, mid-60s, the other day, and he said he's in the civil service. And he said, look, over time, the current government has always been better than the previous government. And he just feels, look, he doesn't know what to think anymore. Yeah, so he doesn't know what to think anymore. And so you thought, if at that age he's of this perspective, when they always told us at that time that, oh no, they had it way better. They went to school with scholarship. They did, Naira was power with the greenback and several policies at that time. And he says, previous governments has always been better than, current government has always been better than previous governments. And then you wonder, so it means, look, all those generations have failed us.
Well, yes. I won't totally agree with you that they failed us, because it's left for us to pick which one of them have failed us. Some of them actually, they failed us, but some are good leaders.
What would you want to see change if we actually have to restore hope to the Nigerian people, if we need to have confidence in our system as Nigerians? The way we rally around football, that kind of unity, people don't see it everywhere else. What do we need to do to change and move this country forward?
I want to see us to be more patriotic. I want to see us where you see the child of a governor or a president go to the same school where the child of a farmer or a judge or everybody to go to a public school. I want to see where our leaders, they can walk into a central hospital or a teaching hospital and get treatment and come out and say, okay, we are good. I don't want to see us moving. I want to see that patriotism in us. When you go to everywhere, you see, oh, I'm proud. Like what happened with our players that they went to Libya and they were maltreated. You saw the way the government came out immediately. They're attacking that is not acceptable.
Could that be because they didn't have to spend, oil money or anything, no big budgets anywhere?
I want to see where we don't take our money out. Where even if you want to see us to say, we want to see that influx of people, where we have those days that we're in school. You say, oh, these people, they are from South Africa because of the apartheid. They came to school with us and they were in classroom with us. We want to see that Nigeria again, that everybody is happy.
All right, we need to wrap up at this point in time, but when you keep saying, give them time.
How much time are you willing to give?
Exactly, 3 years.
Let me tell you something before we, like in my own area of firefighting, I have my own firefighting and rescue, and I tell you, because of the people I'm working with, we recruited about 30 of them, young graduates and they came into doing fire rescue, with my own entity, and we are working. And I tell you, those people today, they can combat anything you can think of. They never thought they would be a fireman, but they are proud of it today. You can see them, they are happy. At least they are off the street. They can see hope. This is just me, a small company trying to build. We have so many other little things like that. So I think this government, this is, by May next year, there'll be 2.
Before there'll be 4.
No, I'm saying.
Give time.
Yeah, for me, I don't want to say this is much time, but I know they are not sleeping.
No, but we need to ask so that people can understand. So we also know that they understand what the problem is. For instance, if you talk about the transportation sector,
yes,
and then they tell us that they are bringing in policies, People then look at the cost of transportation. It's going up. It's not coming down. How do we know they understand it? Because the policies you're bringing in place is not affecting
the common
direct cost.
Yeah. So, okay, let me tell you something. We have waterways. The government, they are trying to do their best to put security in place. The roads were all bad before now, but the government is still trying to do as much as they can do. The state government too should still try and do as much as they can do. The local government too should still try to do as much as they can do. So that money they are giving to state and to the local government, everybody should manage whatever they're giving to them and see how it can affect the common man. I think this is one of the best policies they said, autonomy for the local government, and let's see how it goes. We should pray that the governors don't look at the local government level to go and get their funds.
All right.
Yeah.
So the question is, delete. Are they managing as they expect the people to manage? So you can answer that. I want to thank you for coming on this morning, Sir Oganekaro Jockey. He's the chairman and CEO of Okama Infinity Nigeria Limited. He's been in the oil and gas industry for 22 years. Our business morning comes up now.
Thank you so much, Evelyn. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily, where we do business for just about 30 minutes before we head back to the Sunrise Daily studio. We begin, as usual, from the global space, telling you what has happened to oil prices this morning. We see a major drop in oil prices, about 3% during Asian trade on Tuesday, on the back of weaker demand outlook after a media report said that Israel is willing not to strike Iranian oil targets, which eased the fears that supply could be affected. So we put a number to that percentage, and we have about $2.35 drop on Brent, and while for WTI it's $2.26. So we see that Brent has settled at $75.11 after losing that 3%, while WTI settled at $71.57 after losing 3.1%, which is about $2.26. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has told the United States that Israel is willing to strike Iranian military target, but not nuclear or oil ones. So that has kind of eased the fear that supply may be affected. Also, OPEC has cut its forecast for global oil demand growth in 2024. China, we talked about China yesterday, accounting for the bulk of the downgrade. China's demand is now seen growing by 580,000 barrels per day, down from 650,000 barrels, which was the initial level. So OPEC Plus also lowered its global oil demand growth projection for next year to 1.64 from 1.74. So all of that has brought down the price of crude oil this morning. Now, yesterday we had, very not so good looking numbers for the Naira. There was an intervention by the central bank towards the close of trade. And so we saw that's a huge gain on the value of the Naira, 5.38%, and that is about 88 Naira. 88 Naira 35 kobo was the gain. 1,552 Naira 92 kobo. I mean, kind of comforting when you see 1,005, but then when you see it one day and then the next day is jumping, then it does, bring a level of uncertainty. And for the NAFEX, it's gained 0.43%. As we know, this is the major market where a lot of activities and demand is being absorbed. But of course, there was that intervention from the central bank towards the close of trade yesterday. And it looks like the CBN will continue to be active in the market to sustain this level for the Naira. Now, yesterday, the World Bank cut its growth forecast for sub-Saharan Africa economies this year to 3% from 3.4%. In this latest regional economic outlook report, Africa's Polls, the international finance institution, says that this is mainly because of the impact of the civil war in Sudan, which has devastated economic activity and caused starvation and widespread displacement. However, the World Bank forecasts next year's growth for the region at 3.9%, above its previous prediction of 3.8%. and well above the other one of 2.4%. And they say this is because of higher private consumption and investment, just as it affirms earlier projection made in June that Nigeria's economy will grow by 3.1% this year. We know already we are at 3.1%, but they're saying that by the end of this year, that's the World Bank, we would hit 3.3%. So just a couple of points there, but we know that's not easy to hit. But at the same time, growth in the continent is the continent's most advanced economy, that's South Africa, is expected to increase by 1.1% this year and 1.6% in 2025. That's up from 0.7% the previous year. Stakeholders in the renewable energy space are currently meeting in Nairobi, Kenya, to discuss matters impacting investment in Africa's clean energy development. The forum, put together by Accelerated Partnership for Renewables and the International Renewable Energy Agency, and top on the agenda as they meet is ramping up Africa's investment in renewable energy. Ladi Williams is there and sent in this report.
It's the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa Investment Forum, and Kenya's playing host. This forum is put together by the International Renewable Energy Agency, and on the front burner is investment in renewable energy in Africa.
Africa is accounted for only 1.6% of the global share of installed renewable power capacity. And in 2023, Sub-Saharan Africa energy transition-related investment was 40 times less than the world average per capita.
Energy insecurity is becoming a major pain for African countries, and at the same time, protecting the environment requires a delicate balancing act.
Tripling the deployment of renewable energy is a crucial part of the strategy to reach these global targets. Across Africa, many countries have embraced renewable energy to accelerate their energy transition efforts. Kenya itself stands as a leader, with over 90% of our electricity coming from renewable sources.
According to Irina, Africa must double its investment in renewable energy to meet its transition target, and finance is a big headache.
Well, it's been a long day of high-level discussions today, and a lot has been said, but definitely the bottom line is, as countries in the world move towards reducing emissions at this time, Africa needs to ramp up investment. That is the crux of the matter today, but definitely a lot has to be done. Ladi Williams reporting for Channels Television News.
Yeah, Ladi Williams there. That's why you've not been seeing him in the studio since this week. But see, we'll have him next week, and then we'll take our turns. But now the manufacturers are looking at the imperatives of an intentional development of the Nigerian manufacturing sector. That's the theme that was couched with deep reflection on the growth trajectory of the manufacturing sector in Nigeria. They consider the high and rising cost environment in the environment as it continues to shrink profitability and in many cases threaten the existence of many operators in the critical sector of the economy. The association is worried about the fact that the sector should propel job creation, productivity and economic growth, but is enmeshed with series of challenges that constantly limits its contribution to the GDP.
If you want to sell products, you have to be sure you display your wares and you do all it is to ensure that your wares is known and purchased. If you're interested in some cost, either corporate or otherwise, you bear the cost. But you may want, I say further that the high cost of oil is not making things easy for everyone, including business people and individuals as well. What that has meant is that it has added to your cost of doing things, cost of doing business, cost of living, and the rest of that. So what everyone is doing is to either adjust and prioritize what needs to be done or add it to your costs so that you'll be able to achieve your role. And what you have done is to be sure that our members understand the advantages of coming to the event. the stakeholders are coming understand the importance of coming to the event. And beyond this, most of the participants are Nigeria patriots who really share the view of growing Nigeria out of these current problems.
All right, so those are some of the challenges, obviously, that the manufacturers are facing, reality to a lot of us. Now, let's look at the oil and gas sector this morning. It's Commodities Day, so we're doing this with Dr. Ifeoma Nwokolo, joins us virtually, as usual, from Victoria Island. Dr. Nwokolo, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Great. So we saw that disturbing news that Nigeria's oil production has declined by more than 2%, just when we're about to relax and hope that the profits or the fruits of the fight against oil theft was coming to fruition. Do we know how or what this means, this reduction in production?
Okay, honestly, is getting difficult this time because we keep repeating the same thing. So the evils befalling this industry is basically due to vandalization, we know, of the pipelines. And you see that, like Belima Oil has not been functioning for over 3 years now. They just started functioning since 2021 due to vandalization of the pipeline that we take oil to the terminal. So this is a major issue. This theft issue, vandalization. Then we have our infrastructures that are outdated infrastructures when it comes to that sector. So if these things are updated and there is conscious, or how do I put it, conscious management of these thefts issues that we're having. So government have to do something about it because it's a structural problem that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
So when we do that, we begin to see that our production will increase. And this is what is actually affecting the prices of production of oil this time. The production is low. So what do you see? You see that the prices will increase because you are not supplying as supposed. So that's what we are saying today.
Another worrying fact is the cooking gas. NNPC had told us that they are supplying more than enough into the market, but we keep seeing the price jump. For instance, over this weekend, 12.5 kg of cooking gas has gone up to about 18,000 naira. Do we know what's driving it at this time, in spite of the news that there's an abundance in supply?
So there could be an abundance in supply, and there could be a fact that this particular gas is being exported. It's possible. So we cannot see NNPC supplying more gas. According to them, they say they supply almost 1.5 million metric tons per day. And yet we are still buying gas at about 18,000 naira for 12 kg gas. By this time last year, 12 kg gas was sold about between 7,000 and 9,000. So what is the problem? That's the question we begin to ask. So is it that they are producing more of propane than more of butane gases? Because the butane gases that we use here in Nigeria, we cannot use propane gases. If you produce more of propane gases, so it means that we export more of propane gases and less of butane gases, which is making the cooking gas escalate at this time. And this is not good for consumers because they cannot be battling high prices of commodities and at the same time battling high price of gas, which is a major source of cooking for them. So something has to be done. Is either more of propane gas is being converted to butane gas so that we can have more. But from what we are seeing, because of the deregulation of the industry, we can see that we'll have more refineries coming up today to produce. Like I said earlier, the Belima oil has started production, And if they start production, you know what that means. And gas is a byproduct of crude oil, of course we know. So this will bring in competition. And I know in the nearest future, we are going to begin to see the prices of cooking gas come down.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ifeoma Nwaokolo, a research manager at Financial Derivatives Company.
Thank you for having me.
Now we'll head for our DSTV viewers, we need to lead you to Anambra State. The issue of autonomy of local government has been celebrated. We're waiting for implementation. Now we can get the views from Anambra State. The governor of Anambra State, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, wants to share the views and perhaps how the state would implement the local government autonomy, which is now a law in the country. So for our DSTV viewers, we hand you over to Anambra State. But on our other platforms, the local platform and the Channel 24 platform, we'll continue right here on Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. All right, now, so let's continue with our conversation right here. And we're talking some winners this morning, winners of the 2024 edition of the Prize for Science, sponsored by the Nigeria NLNG Limited. They're with us in the studio. I'm going to be crowded by two gentlemen. At this time, we have Eni Oko and Olajide Otitoju joining us in the studio. These are very brilliant men. I don't know if I should get intimidated. I'm winning a prize for science. I know that's a very big deal. Yeah. I can't imagine the practice or the studying, the preparation that you had to go through to do this. So, well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Where is the money? Can we share it? Well, so what does this mean? Let me start with you. What does this mean for you, the fact that you won this very prestigious and had fought for prize?
Thank you. The prize means a lot for me personally. First, because the entire development has been around 14 years in the making. And to finally get some recognitions for it, it's something very, very special. In 2019, we came close to winning the ICME in the UK Global Awards, and we didn't get that. So it's very, very special to be able to get some recognitions for that development.
Olajide, what does it mean for you? Is it just recognition, or the money will also serve for something good, I believe?
Yeah, of course. The recognition is, as a scientist, being recognized for your work is what you look towards, not even the monetary part of it. So being recognized for your work, and not just only in Nigeria and across the UK, we have our universities having announcements as regards this, and it's not only us now, not only in Nigeria, but people in the UK getting to know about this. So it's a big thing for us.
Yeah, and I know the third winner, Mei Hong Wang. I believe she's South African also?
No. Mei Hong is a Chinese, formerly Chinese.
It's a British citizen now.
Now British.
Yes.
So it's an international award. And you know, the theme or what you competed for is really interesting at a time like this. Carbon capture and fuel production. And we just talked about cooking gas and how it's been expensive and all of that. I wonder if this body of knowledge that you have proposed or you have worked on is going to help in any way. You know, we're complaining now. We have gas, we have the potential. The thing is turning it into the usable form for everybody, both for CNG and for LPG. And it seems that's taking us so much time in the country.
Yeah, it's going to help in so many ways. The first instance being that Nigeria as a country already have a target to fully decarbonize by 2060. And our development is targeting the biggest sector when it comes to carbon emissions, the industries and the power generation, etc. So it's going to help deliver that objective. And for businesses, it's going to help them future-proof their business, because decarbonization has become a core business strategy, because many countries now require their companies to only partner with companies that are committed towards decarbonizing their business. So yes, it's going to help companies to future-proof their business. And for the local man in the street, it's also very special because part of the things we are proposing is that our system is going to capture CO2, convert it to methanol, and methanol can be used for fuel replacement, targeting especially diesel. Diesel is important because of the peculiar characteristics of diesel, so we could have up to 20% diesel replacement. The benefits is that you could drive down the diesel import rates into the country, and which could add up to helping drive down the cost of diesel for the local man in the street.
Yeah, but one challenge in the Nigerian economy has always been turning the talks into works.
Yes.
Connecting the academy to the practical.
Yeah.
So while these sound brilliant and all of that, is there a plan to connect it and make it a practical reality?
Yes, of course, we are academics, and our work is simply to try to answer the key questions that will help drive the development. First of all, thanks to channels and NLNG and other platforms that have given not just us, but the subject of carbon capture some publicity during this period. So we're using this platform, first of all, to help promote this technology and hopefully draw in businesses, government interest, to help push forward the development. At our own level, we are working towards advancing the technology development at the moment. So there is something they call technology readiness level, which is used to measure how ready a technology is, to get into the market. So you start from technology readiness level 1, when it is just an idea in your head, all the way to technology readiness level 9, when it's now a commercial product in the market. At the moment, our development is at around TRL, technology readiness level 5. Okay, and we still have a lot of work to be able to get to that point. So what we're doing, we've secured some grants, have some partners in from Nigeria, from South Africa and other countries, and we are hoping that at the end of the current project we are doing, we can move from TRL 5 to TRL 7. Yeah.
So let me come to Olajide. Tell us more about this preparation and securing of grants. How do we push it forward? How does it come to concern me as a normal average Nigerian, away from the academics and all of the talks to my everyday task in life?
Yeah. For example, I think just like Dr. Ene pointed out, the Nigerian government has something that is called an Energy Transition Plan, ETP. And in that transition plan, they are looking at decarbonizing the power sector, industry, and transportation sector in 2060. So, and in that plan, they need about $410 billion to implement that. We surely know that we don't have that type of money. Or if we have that type of money, we cannot invest such amount of money into decarbonizing. And if we do that, then every other sector will suffer. So part of what we are doing with this technology is that with this technology, we are able to achieve that at a lower cheaper rate. Even by our own estimate, we might be able to maybe cut off about $100 billion to implement the ETP if we are to use the technology being developed. Just like he has said, and this by estimate and in the ETP, they said they are looking at this is a technology that can precipitate up to 100 million jobs, just according to the ETP, the plan that the federal government has in the ETP. So if this technology come on board, this is why we are appealing to the private investors in the country, the federal government. I know the federal government, they have an office that is headed by the Ajurin Gelale, and they are looking at carbon and everything. So it's no longer there. But I know somebody will be coming on board. If somebody is already there, somebody will be coming on board. These are the people we are looking to meet and to talk to and see how this project can become a Nigerian thing, not just other country, a Nigerian thing, and we can be at the forefront of this climate agenda.
Yeah, but in all of this, the issue of infrastructure deficit is a major one.
It is.
So even when we have the beautiful policies and the talks, actually putting it on ground, because even at the NNPCL, they do have some projects of infrastructure to connect the gas from location to destination and all of that. It's a huge one. I wonder if your conversation is also considering that, because if not, you might have the beautiful print, but actually doing it will become a challenge.
Yes, like I said, just like he has pointed out, we are scientists. We
develop
things. So, and that is why we want people to come on board. It's an investment. Okay, in the UK, last week, the UK government announced 21.7 billion, almost 22 billion pounds for carbon capture and storage alone. So this is a commitment from government that they will be spending 22 billion on this technology just to look at carbon, how to decarbonize their industry, glass industry, and their petrochemicals, and their power plants and everything, and how to store and use those the CO2 that is being captured. So this is a capital-intensive project, and that is why I was earlier on I was talking. Okay, federal government, private investor can come on board and help drive this technology to the stage where you can come to commercial deployment, and it can benefit everybody.
Yeah, and I guess if there are incentives, investors will come on.
Yeah, so obviously, from an incentive point of view, carbon capture is mostly driven by an incentive economy, even in other parts of the world. But this is why it is of interest that we are proposing that the CO2 that you are capturing can be converted to a usable product. That's an idea that makes the entire idea of carbon capture very something that is worthy of investment from an investor point of view. And not just rely on government incentives, because government will not always have the money to be able to finance the entire development. I think what we are doing is to try to bridge an important gap. It doesn't discount that there are other problems regarding infrastructure deficit and the rest of them. But what is primary is that there is a bigger problem, which is that there is a lacking innovation within that space that can be tailored to the Nigerian situation and that can help deliver the solution at a reduced cost. That's the key for us. Infrastructure development, of course, in Nigeria we have all our problems, but it's something that we do not need new technologies to be able to build infrastructures. It's in the market already. But in terms of the carbon capture itself, the technology at the scale that we are proposing is not available.
Well, I guess we have to thank Nigeria LNG for even beginning this conversation, because it's because of them and the competition, you're winners, and then you can further push this dream and vision. And we certainly do hope that the brains in Nigeria one day actually materialize into workable plans for us. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations once again.
Thank you very much.
Enyoko and Olajide Otitoju, as well as Methong Wang. Share our congratulations for him.
Thank you very much. We shall do. Thank you very much.
So much. Yes. Thank you.
All right. So our congratulations to them, and thanks to Nigeria LNG Limited for that competition. I wonder if we do have time. Well, okay, we have 55 minutes in the afternoon, 1 p.m. And Ladi will be joining us live. So you want to see him. If you've missed him on the show, you will see him later on today. But the good news is that yesterday, the market cap at the NGX went to another level. We've been to that level before, but we can celebrate that. And that's because of Aradel. Aradel got listed yesterday and was very active. We'll give you more details and a great conversation on that at 1 p.m. for Business Incorporated. Let's head you back now to the Sunrise Daily Studio. I'm in John Mekwa.
We are constrained to express our utter disgust and disappointment in our colleagues' resort to motor park approach to a mere suspension aimed at providing them with the opportunity to clear themselves of certain allegations leveled against them. Although we have detailed knowledge of the drummers, and this is in caps, the drummers are external, they are not internal, but they are indeed members of the party, and they are in privileged quarters, and they are the ones sponsoring these mischief makers, but it will end the way it has started, without any result. The masquerades should have been guided in their dance steps to avoid stripping themselves naked on the stage. In the face of the reckless violation of a subsisting court order, therefore, we are hereby left with no option but to deploy the services of security agencies in the enforcement of the rule of law. The security agencies are duty-bound to enforce the rule of law for contempt of court, and therefore, without our prompting, the actions will be meted accordingly.
Yes, indeed, we've got Dr. Alex Adum here with us. He's a former Attorney General for Benue State. Good morning, and thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Chamberlain, and good morning, viewers.
Quite an interesting scenario playing out within the PDP, and the courts also have a role here.
Yeah.
But even before, perhaps you could just add all of that, the comments from the acting National Publicity Secretary. Now, it turns out that there's another group which has said they themselves too issued a statement saying certain persons are suspended, they've got an acting chairman, and so it just looks as though a lot of these things may eventually end up in settled in courts one way or the other, which we've seen happen before. How do you see all of these scenarios playing out now?
Yeah, Chamberlain, it's rather very sad that the people who are charged as the custodians of the Constitution of the People's Democratic Party, that is the NWC of the party, are the ones instigating the breach and the violation, the most flagrant violation of the Constitution of the party.
How?
All that has happened in the last 1 week ought not to have happened, because neither of the parties in this controversy is empowered under the Constitution of the party to perform any of the roles of suspending any member of the party. Not Damagun as acting chairman of the party, nor the National Working Committee of the party. Suspension from the party is an executive function.
Executive meaning?
Executive function.
Who would the executive be?
Now, the executive is defined under Section 31 and subsection 32 of the party. And the National Executive Committee of the PDP, and if you have the constitution of the PDP, I would like you to project it. The National Executive Committee of the party is different from the National Working Committee, which is a microcosm. The Working Committee is the administrative organ of the party. It is just like you have the board of channels, and then you have the management of channels. There are certain functions that are vested directly in the board. Policy issues are decided at the board level, not management. And the managing director of channels cannot purport to suspend a board member of channels. It is not within his powers.
So if that happens, for that particular action,
yes,
why is it that we've not seen those other persons challenged in court? Why did they issue a counter suspension notice? Are they also right to have done that?
That's why I said neither of the parties. Because if you look at the dry provisions of Article 57, subsection 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, that deals with the issue of discipline in the party, the appropriate body to constitute a disciplinary committee for the PDP is provided under Article 57, sub-Article 1. And that is the National Executive Committee or any other executive committee of the party at any other level. And then there are about 4 levels of the party. You have the National Executive Committee, you have the Zonal Executive Committee, you have the State Executive Committee, you have the Local Government Executive Committee, and then you have the Ward Executive Committee. Now, within the Executive Committee, for the day-to-day administration of the party, the Working Committee is carved out, made up of elected members who stand in there. And their functions for the National Working Committee, for instance, their functions are provided under Article 29, sub-Article 1, 2, and 3. And Article 29, sub-Article 1 says the National Working Committee of the party shall be in charge of the day-to-day administration of the party on behalf of the National Executive Committee. So they are a delegatee
Let me get this straight. I mean, because you've tried to use a company to illustrate what it is that you're trying to explain.
Yes.
But the PDP has a National Working Committee,
Yes.
the NWC. It
Yes.
has a National Executive Committee.
Yes.
Which you say one is like the management and the other is like the board.
Board, yes.
However, there is also a board of trustees.
Look, the PDP, this is the hierarchy of it. Okay? The ultimate organ of the PDP is the National Convention. That is like in typical company parlance, the annual general meeting of the company. After the National Convention, you have the NEC, which is the board of PDP. The BOT even comes below the NEC because the BOT is an advisory body. It does not have any executive functions. So the executive powers are well articulated in Article 31, sub-Article 2. Particularly with respect to discipline, you have Article 31, subsection 2, sub-Article 2, paragraph I, which provides that the National Executive Committee shall formulate policies, rules, and regulations for the discipline of all party members, which shall be binding on all organs of the party. The only place where the National Working Committee or any other working committee of the party is mentioned with respect to discipline is in Article 57, sub-Article 3. And in that particular provision, it says that the National Working Committee or any other working committee of the party can suspend a member, may suspend a member. However, Article 57, sub-Article 7 says, notwithstanding any other provision of this Constitution, no member of the National Executive Committee no petition, no complaint shall be entertained by any other executive committee, not even working committee of the party, against any member of the National Executive Committee, including the president, an incumbent president who is a member of the party, an incumbent vice president, an incumbent governor, an incumbent deputy governor, an incumbent member of the National Assembly, and so on and so forth. So the members of the National Executive Committee of the party, which are like the board of the party, cannot be dealt with by ordinary structures or organs of the party except the NEC.
Let me get this straight. Are we still talking about the suspension of the spokesperson and the legal advisor?
Of course, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yes.
And what I'm saying
are they members of the board?
They are members of NEC. Members of the National Working Committee of the party are also members of the National Executive Committee. They are substantive members of the National Executive Committee. Your managing director is a member of the board. So your management cannot suspend the managing director. So you don't have the powers.
Are you telling us that when people say under the functions of the NWC,
yes,
when they say in case of emergency, they can act on behalf of the National Executive Committee subject to ratification by NEC, they can perform such other function as may be assigned
delegated to them by NEC.
By NEC.
That is section 29, Article 29, sub-Article 2. Emergency situations. What is the emergency? Now,
So,
that particular provision, excuse me, sir.
Just a minute. Are you saying for sure
Excuse
that,
me,
just
sir.
a minute, let me ask the question.
Okay.
You will respond to the question. Are you saying for sure that there is no reason whatsoever for the MWC to have done what they've done?
There was no reason at all.
They have not in any way been instructed
any
by
other
NEC?
provision.
So wait, you're saying that there's no communication from NEC to NWC to
No, none at all. The last NWC, the last NEC
Are you a
meeting,
member of any organ of the party?
I am not a member of any organ of the party, but I'm a committed member of the party and a very resourceful member of the party who has been a member of the party since 1998. In the last election, in the two previous elections, in 2019, I was the state coalition officer for the PDP, which returned Governor Otom, and he took my stout defense of the principles of democracy, fairness, justice, and obedience to the rules for the conduct of the election for Otom to be returned as governor in Benue State. In 2023, I was the director mandate protection for the Presidential Campaign Council. I know the constitution of the party back to back. And I'm telling you that, look, there is a clause in the constitution, and read it, sir. Go to Article 57, sub-Article 7, and read Article 59, sub-Article 3. Tell me, read it, sir. You have, if you have it, please project it and read it.
What's your point?
It says, notwithstanding any other provision of this constitution, no member of the executive committee, nobody shall entertain any complaint of discipline against any member of the National Executive Committee.
However grievous it is.
However grievous it is.
Okay.
The only privacy there is that the National Working Committee can complain, can lay a complaint to the National Executive Committee, which has the executive powers to decide the merit of such a decision. And in any case, if you look at the provisions of Section 57, Article 57, sub-Article 6, the procedure for summoning any member for discipline is such a member must be allowed or tried under the principles of fair hearing. And what is fair hearing? You are first informed of the charges against you properly.
Have they not been invited to come and defend themselves?
Excuse me, sir. Let me learn. You're first informed. You are afforded the opportunity to defend yourself, either orally or in writing. And if these conditions are not met, any decision arising from that proceeding is a nullity.
So as we speak today.
Excuse me, sir. Let me land on this point.
No, hold on.
I don't want you to derail me on this point. Let me in 2 seconds.
Hang on. So the thing is this, right?
Yeah.
We look at the time.
Yeah.
So we need to come in with those questions.
Yes.
Because we have to factor all of this in within the time.
Yes.
So you don't have all
the time. But in 30 seconds I would have landed on that. In 30 seconds. Now, the principles of fair hearing are also such that you cannot be a judge in your own cause. The applicable Latin maxim is nemo judex in causa sua.
Who is the judge in their own cause here?
Damagun and the purported NWC that said we have suspended the National Publicity Secretary and the National Legal Advisor, and we have set up a committee made up of the same NWC members to sit in judgment over a member they have no powers to suspend.
How is Damagun a judge in his own matter? If
the disciplinary committee set up by Damagun.
Let me put in the question.
Yes.
This decision was taken by NWC.
The NWC cannot be a judge in its own cause.
Hold on, let's put in the question so you can answer to it.
Yeah.
You say Damagun. Did Damagun take this decision unilaterally? Did he write this suspension unilaterally?
Damagun is the chief executive of the party.
Did he issue the suspension in his capacity as acting chairman?
Damagun, when I mention Damagun, it is like the symbol of the NWC. He symbolizes the NWC.
No, but that's not the case.
Excuse me, sir.
Just a minute. There's an NWC, and then there's Damagun.
The head of the decision was taken purportedly by the NWC. The letter was issued by the National Secretary Anyanwu of the party. And it was issued on behalf of the NWC. So the NWC cannot sit and constitute a panel to hear the disciplinary allegations against the National Publicity Secretary. That would be against the principles articulated in Article 57, sub-Article 1 of the party.
Yeah, but they said that this is not a suspension as such.
What?
That's what they have said, that this is a temporary suspension pending when they clear themselves before a disciplinary committee.
What is suspension, whether temporary or this thing? And in any case, okay, fine. If that is the logic, is acting chairman, national chairman of PDP.
What did the court say about his position?
The court didn't say anything about his acting position.
Recent court judgment.
The recent court judgment was to the effect that the national chairman, not the acting national chairman, there's no reference to anything acting national chairman in the judgment of the court. And in any case, that court decision is superfluous. I have said it. The established principles of law and the jurisprudence of the courts in Nigeria today is that matters of election or removal of party executives are internal affairs of political parties.
In other words?
And in other words, the court does not have any jurisdiction to interfere. And I refer you to this, all the previous line of cases, but particularly the Supreme Court judgment in January in the case of Governor Muftuang of Plateau State versus Nantawe. That was on the only principle upon which the Supreme Court was able to overrule the Court of Appeal on the issue of executives.
When you say the court did not make any reference to acting national
chairman, yes.
When you are in that position,
yes,
it's just designation to call you acting national chairman. You're doing
no.
Hold on a minute. You're carrying out the functions in that office as the man who sits in that office.
Yes.
Now, if the court came up with that judgment,
yes,
are you then saying now that all the prayers, whatever it is that the court decided, cannot be obeyed?
The prayers cannot be obeyed. Like I said, there is a distinction between acting national chairman in the PDP and substantive national chairman. The provisions relating to the substantive national chairman of the party are very well articulated in the party constitution. The question of acting national chairman only appears in section 35, subsection 3C of the PDP constitution.
But you know the person who went to court and their prayers was in support of Damagum.
Sir, I can go to court.
Was it not
Excuse me, sir.
No, was that not the case?
Yes.
Exactly.
Fine.
So go ahead.
I can go to court. China's television is a registered entity. Okay? I can go to court and forget to put China's Television Limited or whatever it is.
A lawyer will forget?
I may forget, or I may willfully, because I did not do my due diligence. And then I will sue China's Television or China's TV. Now, if you go and China's comes to court, China can say the proper party is not before the court. The proper party is not before the court.
Mm-hmm. When that happens, what will be the decision?
The judgment of the court, for instance.
Will the court go ahead and give a judgment?
Let's assume the court can give a judgment. It can go ahead. The court can decline jurisdiction. But let's assume that the court has given a judgment. If I come to enforce it and China says no, this judgment does not affect China's Television Nigeria Limited, which is the registered entity. My judgment is against China's Television or China's TV. So, I cannot enforce that judgment against China's Television Nigeria Limited.
Are we now going to disobey it because of that?
For what I've told you, that the judgment does not apply.
Yeah, but you're saying it cannot be obeyed.
Why do you obey a judgment that does not apply to you?
What is the procedure?
Sir, for the PDP.
If there's a subsisting...
For the PDP.
Just hold on.
Yes.
If there's a subsisting judgment. Number one is that it's very rare for a lawyer to go to court and say, I forgot to add this. And then they'll argue the matter with the opposing counsel. They'll argue the matter for months, maybe years. And they all still forget and don't remember. And the judge, they'll all sit and, oh, come on. But assuming that all that may even happen.
Even in the last
assuming that may even happen.
Yes.
The other aspect is this. If a judgment has been handed down, can you just sit down and say it cannot be obeyed? Isn't the process to challenge it and vacate it before you do anything? Because if everybody keeps saying, no, we will not obey that, that is taking the law into your hands.
We are not taking the laws into our hands. And the judgment says that Damagum should not be removed, or the chairman should not be removed. Damagum is not the chairman of the PDP.
So who is the chairman?
He is the acting national chairman of the PDP.
So
wait a minute,
in
sir.
this case,
wait a minute,
in
sir.
this case,
wait a minute,
who is
sir.
this judgment referring to?
The judgment is referring to the position of national chairman.
Who occupies it?
We do not have a substantive national chairman. We have an acting national chairman. And that acting national chairman cannot benefit from the judgment of the court, which does not refer to him. It is not a judgment in personam. It's a judgment in rem. It says the national chairman of the PDP should not be removed. Damagum is not the national chairman. So, in any case, nobody is removing Damagum from the office.
In this case...
Can I land, sir?
Just a minute. For this particular judgment,
yes,
who is it benefiting now?
The judgment is in favor of the national chairman of the PDP, who was elected. If I, for instance,
You haven't answered the question. Who is the national chairman? So they give.
We don't have a national chairman. We have an acting national chairman,
of which this judgment was referring to.
The judgment was referring to the national chairman, not the acting national chairman. I've told you that. We don't need to. You're the one who's wasting too much of my time. I have landed on that.
You don't have a chairman, right?
No.
We don't have a national chairman. We have an acting national chairman.
Okay.
Yes.
So right now, I mean, it's all very confusing because
it's not confusing.
Let me put this like this, because it's like when you say, "Oh, we have an acting president." Now we had an acting president once when we do have.
We always have an acting president.
Sometimes when the president is around or is away, and then he hands over power to the vice president. You can say, "Okay, that's acting president." But in the instance, for instance, when we had the situation with President Yar'Adua, where a doctrine of necessity.
Why don't you even bring it down to Buhari and?
No. Let me go to when the doctrine of necessity was declared. When the constitution, when our senators and Nigerian Parliament was unsure of whether he was alive or dead. You know, and they were waiting for that confirmation, and he had to be sworn in. In that time, when he was acting president, when there was no other option until it was later on confirmed that, the president had passed. Would we have said that we don't have a president?
We had an acting president.
Yes.
When the need arose for him to be made president, he was sworn in as president immediately upon the demise of Shehu Umar Yar'Adua.
Yes, but what does an acting president then do? The person who is acting?
An acting president is not a substantive president. He's just a stopgap arrangement.
What does he do? What are the functions?
He performs the functions of the office, but he does not have the title.
So it's a titular problem.
It's a titular problem.
Well, let me read out.
It's not just a question of semantics. It is directly, because if you look at it in the PDP constitution, the idea of an acting national chairman is not a succession arrangement in the PDP. The succession arrangement in the PDP for any vacancy in any office of the National Executive Committee or any other executive committee of the PDP is provided for under Article 47, sub-Article 6.
Which says
that the appropriate executive committee at any level where a vacancy occurs shall appoint another replacement from the zone where the executive officer of the party who has resigned or has been removed or who has been incapacitated comes from.
Let me read
in
out
respect to Article 35, sub-Article 3C, it says because there are two deputy national chairmen of the party.
Well,
priority should be given to the one from the part of the country, part and region, not even zone.
Okay, let's not go too far back in history. Let's even assume that you accept that, Mr. Damagum is the acting chairman.
Yes.
Now a judgment comes, it benefits the chairman, you say?
Yes.
You don't have an acting chairman.
We don't have a national chairman, we have an acting national chairman.
You don't have a national chairman.
Yes.
So if something were to come and it was supposed to be the function of the chairman to perform, you'll say, acting national chairman, you cannot perform it because you're not the substantive, titular chairman of the party. Is that what you're going to say?
Those are administrative functions. He can perform the administrative functions because in the party constitution...
He can perform it, but he cannot take the benefits. He can only perform
he can't take the legal position, the legal character.
Even though you do not have a substantive chairman.
We don't have a substantive national chairman. And like I said, because you're not allowing me to land on this point.
We don't have all the time, unfortunately.
The PDP is not removing Damagum from office. Damagum's substantive position in the PDP is deputy national chairman, not.
Okay, let me
all we are asking him to do is revert to your position and allow the operation of Section 47, subsection 6.
Let me read part of this before we go on this. Justice Lifus of the Federal High Court's decision.
Yes.
So part of it was when, the plaintiff, through his lawyer, Joshua Musa SAN, their prayer to the court was to invoke Article 45, 47, and 67 of the PDP Constitution to stop the move to replace Damagum as acting national chairman. A specific prayer. And so he also specifically asked the court to declare that the national chairmanship of the PDP is rotated between the North and South regions, and not through any other procedure not enshrined in the Constitution. So the decision went on to say that they can only be removed through the convention. So the courts in that judgment barred PDP, NEC, and BOT from removing Damagum as the chairman. And he held, just a minute, he held that in line with Article 42, 47, and 47 of the PDP, officers can only be elected at the national convention of the party. This is the decision of the court.
With due respect to my lord, his interpretation of the PDP constitution is erroneous. Yep. So it is pincurium. Excuse me. I said with due respect to him, because I'm a member of the PDP.
I know we need to go.
Now, under section 67, subsection 1, that my lord referenced, the appropriate regions that are mentioned, zones that are mentioned in the PDP constitution, check Article 67, sub-Article 1, paragraph M rather. It says north, west, northeast, north south, north central, south, southwest, southeast. The issue of northern and southern region are not in any way articulated in section 67.
Dr. Alex Adom, we need to go. But the thing about this is this is a subsisting judgment. Yes, you have your legal opinion, but you're not the court. So if you disagree with it, you have to challenge it in the courts.
The higher courts have said no lower court should even entertain any internal affair of a political party. We have a Supreme Court judgment.
Well,
so is Lifu can override the Supreme Court.
Dr. Adom,
we are obliged to obey him. He is not obliged to obey the precedent set by the Supreme Court, by the Court of Appeal.
If this has not been challenged to be dismissed, this is the subsisting judgments.
That is the subsisting judgment, is the judgment of the higher court. That is the Supreme Court, not the judgment of the lower court.
Of Benue State, Dr. Alex Adom, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Chamberlain. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's take a look at some messages coming through from here. This is from Kola Fatokun. He says this is about CAF. Okay, Kola. He says, eagerly awaiting the results of CAF's investigation. Libya is known for repeating this callous and shameful behavior. Okay. That's another one.
Well, I see quite a lot of them. This is from Professor Nakina. Says, fiscal and forex policies must be returned to make the single-digit loans by BOI and Afrexim available to those involved in commercial agriculture and other SMEs in the informal sector. While we implement this policy, we must improve power generation, transmission and distribution to cut cost of production, and this will create a competition between goods produced locally and those imported. I see quite a number of feedback from, this is a mail from Mr. Olanrewaju Osho. It's pretty long. I think it was an interview we had yesterday with Mr. Gabriel Suswam, and then quite a number of other. Look at this one from Kine Kenneth. Kine Kenneth says, Nigeria's major economic challenges are underinvestment and I want to believe he means ineffective management. Now, President Tinubu should bring to the table an economic plan that would utilize the vast natural resources available through strategic investment in infrastructure, which will lead to the diversification of the economy and wealth creation across the entire country. That's from Kenny Kenneth.
Okay, well, thank you all for your messages. We'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, have a very lovely day. I'm Chamberlain Yusuf. Goodbye.
Thank you. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.